Member Aliotti-Pierre.
Here.
Member Avalos.
Present.
Vice Chair Barnes.
Present.
Vice Chair Kawaguchi.
Here.
Member Chan. Anticipated. Member Chandler.
Present.
Director Chen, myself is here. Director Coles.
Present.
Member Dorsey.
Present.
Member Galata.
Present.
Member Gupta.
Here.
Vice Chair Hyken.
Here.
Member Ho.
Here.
Member Kim.
Present by proxy.
Present by proxy. Okay. Member Director Lai.
Present.
Member Mahmood.
Present.
Member Mar.
Present by proxy.
Member Wynn.
Present.
Member Philhauer.
Here.
Member Sangiardi.
Present.
Member Stephanie.
Present by proxy.
Member 2.
Here.
Chair Tom.
Here.
Ex officio members Pelosi.
By proxy.
Here by proxy. I assume by designate unless mentioned otherwise. Member Ma.
Here.
Here. Member Cohen. Member Cohen? Member Wiener.
Here.
Member Haney.
Here by proxy.
Proxy. Member Ting.
Here.
Here. Okay. Member Klonakis. Member Mullen. Chair Tong, that is the roll.
Thank you. Do we quorum?
Yes. We have quorum.
We are moving to agenda item number 2, approval of the meeting agenda, discussion of possible action regarding this agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? So we do have 2 items that were on the 72-hour notice that require approval to be added to the agenda. I hope we can do this by acclamation. Can we approve these 2 items to the agenda? All in favor? So moved. Thank you, member. Second? Anyone second? Thank you, member. Hiken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Those 2 items have been added to the agenda, and do we need to then approve the agenda as a whole? Okay. Now, approval of the meeting minutes, discussion and possible action. I know that member Avalos wanted to be recognized on this.
Yes, thank you. Members, fellow members, I want to make sure that we're accurately reporting factual discussions and points that are made in our meetings, and the minutes should reflect that. There were key points that were made at the beginning of the meeting. It was our first meeting for many of us. And I think we had a temporary recording secretary at that time, so I don't think the minutes really capture that. So I want to make sure that we have the full record of our discussion, especially in the beginning of the meeting, and would like to propose that that we continue this item to our next meeting so that we can improve meetings. In the meantime, I think I could work with operations director Chen to make sure we have an accurate reflection of our discussions from the beginning of the meeting. So I'd like to motion that we continue this item so we can actually make a comprehensive minutes for our next meeting for consideration.
So discussion on the motion, member Barnes?
Well, what was missing? Is there anything specific?
There's actually discussion points that are in the minutes that are inaccurate. There's omissions about our discussion about proper noticing of the meeting. There's also omissions about our discussion about the bylaws. There's also a statement that was made about why the bylaws needed to be voted on at the last meeting that is not in the minutes, and it turns out it's possible that that statement was inaccurate, which prompted an immediate vote on our minutes or on our bylaws from last meeting. I think those are things that are important that are so that we can, you know, make sure that our points that are made with each other in this body are reported accurately. And, so we can actually, you know, self-correct how we engage with each other. I think the minutes are a good record to be able to do that.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Director Chen?
Yes, Member Avalos and I had a good discussion. I support the continuance, and I hope, and we will discuss further to try to address the members' concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other further discussion? All right, so can we approve this motion by acclamation? All those in favor? Okay, so, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so Member Avalos' motion to continue this item to the next meeting is approved. Okay, now we're on item number 4, general public comment. Given the size of the audience, I think we can accomplish this within 2 minutes, from 2 minutes per speaker. The Democratic County Central Committee will take public comment on all items on the agenda, and in addition, other matters germane to party business but not on the agenda. If you'd like to make a public comment, please fill out a comment card available at the table with, at the podium. And now I'll turn it over to Executive Director Moises Garcia.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for those who gave me public comment cards. If you have them, please bring them forward. I will call order in the order that I received comment cards. Note that this body takes public comment on all items. Note that this body takes all public comment during this item. Each member of the public will have 2 minutes to address this committee. Associate members, including club presidents or chairs, members of the Democratic State Central Committee, Assembly District chairs, and regional directors will have 4 minutes to address this committee. I will give you a 60-second and a 30-second notice. Thank you in advance for your patience. First up is Jordan Davis.
Good fucking evening, motherfuckers. My name is Jordan, my pronouns are she, they, and of course murdered, scumroll, transphobic, so you probably ain't listening. And I am approaching my 20th year anniversary of being a registered Democrat. On items 8 and 9, yes, I believe racism is a public health crisis, and public safety systems need to be held accountable. Which is why I'm upset that a black man, Terry Williams, had his home burned down after weeks of racist threats, and of course the police did nothing. Y'all clamor for more cops, but cops don't do shit around racial terrorism. And one person, Chastity Boudin, wanted to hold our public safety systems accountable, but Lanier, the Turk, carceral feminist, joined the recall effort. And happy Queer and Trans API Month, where we recognize intersections, the world is a better place. Thank you, Member Nguyen. I want to take this opportunity to point out once again that Chair Nancy Trump-Tung took money from a vital transphobe by the name of Josephine Zhao. Sorry, no, she hates LGBT people. And I was going to go to the sexual assault hearing, but Hetty Mel called. Most of us progressives canceled Jacobo back in 2021, but moderates won't cancel Farrah Lackey, Jay Chang. And I just, lastly, I see Meatball Joey Sangerardi is running for Bart Board in my district. I'll never vote for him. You know that he's accepting cash in brown paper envelopes, and we'll have his hand in a cookie jar. So is Catherine Stephanie, who wants to whack rent control. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Your comments. Next up is Madison Tam, followed by William Brega and Gladys.
Good evening, and thank you, members of the DCCC, for listening to public comment. My name is Madison Tam. I'm one of the chair's nominees to be a delegate to the state party. I'm very proud to be a Democrat and very proud to be dedicated to the furtherance of Democratic Party values, both in my professional life in City Hall and in my personal life, as someone who's passionate about issues like affordable housing, public transportation, combating anti-Asian hate, voting rights, reproductive freedom, just to name a few. As a delegate, I look forward to ensuring that San Francisco values are represented at the state party level, and I very much enjoy working with a variety of stakeholders in all across our range of stakeholders in San Francisco, as I have on policy and community issues for the last few years, both in District 6, citywide, and in the API community. And I really admire the work all of you do, not only in your capacity as DCCC members, but in your various other roles. I really enjoyed working with most of you, hopefully all of you soon. And I actually served for about a year as a proxy to a DCCC member until the election of this new body. So I'm very excited that the chair nominated me, and I hope to have your support.
Thank you. Next up, William Brega, followed by Gladys Soto, and then Ewan Barker.
Hello, my name is Will. I'm the president of Dear Community. I'm here to speak on behalf of our organization to support the resolution declaring racism and hate incidents a public health crisis. Our organization was created at the height of the Stop Asian Hate movement, where there was a spike in violence against Asian elders and Asian-owned businesses. You know, at the time, a lot of our elected leaders were afraid to talk about Stop Asian Hate, and to see this resolution at the Democratic Party of San Francisco is really touching and meaningful. I'm glad we're bringing awareness to these crimes and attacks against the most vulnerable members of our community. So thank you all for leading this effort to uplift our reputation as one of the most inclusive cities in the world. And thank you to everyone who decides to support this resolution. So thank you.
Thank you for comments. Gladys Soto, followed by Ewan Barker Plummer, Lisa Mora, and Greg Harden.
Good evening, Chair Nancy Tan, members of the DCCC, my family, my kids over there, my friends, members of the public. My name is Gladys Soto. First of all, congratulations to all members of the DCCC, all of you. And thank you for your commitment to the Democratic Party and for your work in creating policies to prevent community members from sexual assault and harassment, especially in the political arena. I have been in San Francisco for several decades. I want to say almost 40, but yeah, 40 years, 36. And have dedicated my life to serving others, both professionally and as an elected delegate to the California Democratic Party, as well as in local campaigns and on Democratic boards, and I even ran for office. I'm a Democrat, a mother, and an immigrant. I know what we're fighting for. For housing for all, great education for our children, universal child care, service for seniors and the disabled, for public safety and stopping hate crimes, a clean city, efficient transportation for mental health and substance abuse services, support for our homeless population, for our LGBT brothers and sisters, good paying union jobs, thriving and small business, food security, women and immigrants' rights, social justice, and more. That's why I'm here tonight, to ask you for your support and to vote for, or to be appointed to as a delegate to the California Democratic Party to ensure we have representation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ewan, followed by Lisa Mora, Greg Harden, and Derek Messer.
Good evening. My name is Ewan Barker Plummer. I'm one of the proposed appointees before you all today to the California Democratic State Central Committee. First, I want to thank Chair Tung for this appointment and to the DCCC for your consideration tonight. I have been an active and engaged San Francisco youth advocate and young Democrat really for as long as I've been old enough to be able to be. Currently, I serve as the chair of the San Francisco Youth Commission, leading a group of 17 commissioners to advise the mayor and the board of supervisors on policies impacting youth in our city. Through serving on the commission for the past 3 years, I feel I've shown my ability to work with people across the blue political spectrum we have here in San Francisco and in California, working in good faith with colleagues to get stuff done and make meaningful change. I've also been a board member of the 2 largest Democratic clubs in the city. I've led a chapter of the High School Democrats, and I've been an active gun violence prevention organizer. I'd be honored to be confirmed today, and I look forward to representing the next generation of San Francisco Democrats and working to elect and re-elect Democrats across the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Mora, Greg, Derek, Kyle Schmeely, and Upstairs.
Good evening, members. First, I'd like to start out by thanking Chair Tung for my proposed reappointment as a DSCC delegate, your representative to the California Democratic Party. And I'd also like to thank former Chair Honey Mahogany for my first appointment in 2022 to the same body. I have had the honor of serving on both the Rules and Resolutions Committee at the state level, both where the sausage is made, maintained, and sometimes undone. And also, I'd like to specifically thank Chair Tung for uplifting LGBTQ voices. With this appointment, I will be able to remain chair of our LGBTQ caucus for the state party level, which is one of the largest caucuses that our state offers. And so I would appreciate a unanimous vote from all of you. Thank you so much, and happy to be a resource.
Next up is Brett Hardman, Derek Kaminsky, Kyle Schmeely, and Luke Harris.
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members, and staff. Congratulations, first of all, everybody, for your recent victories in the election. You guys did a good race. I'm here as a public member, speaking on behalf of the International Union of Elevator Constructors, Local 8. We represent the elevator constructors in Northern California, and speaking in favor of number 11 on encouraging the regional housing resolution, and look forward to having good labor standards, and hopefully we get this on the ballot in November and pass. So thank you very much. Bye.
Your comments?
Good evening, committee members. Thank you, Chair Tung, for your nomination for me to serve at the state party. So a few things happened when I turned 18 years old. I told my mom, no, I'm not going to register for the draft. And she said, well, you should register for the draft, just don't go to war. And the other thing that happened is the woman at that time that I thought was the love of my life, and we're actually still very close friends today, she got pregnant. And luckily for us, she had a mother who was a very liberal Democrat from Orange County, funnily enough, who helped us terminate the pregnancy. And a few months later, I started knocking doors for the California Abortion Rights Action League. And a few months after that, I registered to be a Democrat. And now, nearly 40 years later, I'm still a Democrat, I'm still a liberal, I'm still a screaming commie to the rest of the country. I am proud to be a San Francisco Democrat. Over the last several years, I revitalized the District 5 Democratic Club. It has now since disappeared. I co-founded what is today the largest Democratic club in San Francisco. Many of the people on this stage tonight are members, board members, former board members. Many of my co-nominees are also involved in the club and our board members. So I thank you tonight, and I ask humbly for your support and for your vote. Go Democrats.
Your comments?
Good evening, Kyle Schmeely. I'm the Policy Director for the San Francisco Community Land Trust. We're a nonprofit that specializes in preserving affordable housing and creating homeownership opportunities. I'm here to speak on item number 12 in support of the Foreclosure Intervention Housing Preservation Program. First, I want to thank the DCCC members for considering this resolution and to Member Claude for bringing this forward. The FIP program was created in 2021 and allocated $500 million to prevent foreclosed properties from going to hand speculators and turning them into permanently affordable housing. The implementation of the program took a lot longer than expected, and then in January of this year, the governor proposed to slash the program in half, and then in the May revised budget proposed to eliminate the program entirely. Cutting this program could not come at a worse time. We're seeing statewide foreclosure rates exceeding pre-pandemic levels. 31,000 properties statewide received a foreclosure notice last year. That put more than 100,000 Californians at risk. At the same time, pandemic-era tenant safeguards have expired and eviction filings are now back to pre-pandemic levels. This is especially concerning given the association between foreclosures, evictions, and homelessness. We know the number of people experiencing homelessness has increased 7% to more than 8,300 people in the last point in time count. Part of the challenge is that even as we are successfully transitioning people off the streets into supportive services, because of ever increasing cost of housing, there are more people becoming homeless newly than our supportive system can keep up with. The FIP program is an opportunity to intervene with buildings that have at-risk residents and stop them from potentially becoming homeless in the first place. In the context of homelessness, FIP is the ounce of prevention that can help avoid the pound of cure. and that is all the more important in the context of a budget shortfall in our city and throughout the state. Again, I appreciate your time and consideration and ask that we stand together urging the state to restore FIP funding. Thanks.
There's Elton Braun, followed by Jason Park and Omar Town.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I appreciate this opportunity to give public comment. My name is Lefteris Lefteriu. I recently declared my candidacy for Board of Education. We hear a lot of disturbing comments, tonight and in general about the racial intolerance and hate crimes going around in our city. It's really sad and disturbing, and one reason I'm running is I hope to make an impact in the early childhood stage. In addition to teaching the basics like reading, writing, arithmetic, it's really important that children also have a tolerance and a understanding that it's smart to appreciate the differences among us and try to respect those and get along. So I look forward to meeting each and one of you individually. I think I've met a few of you, but again, thank you for this opportunity. Good night.
Jason Park,
Good evening, committee members. My name is Jason Park, and tonight I'm humbled to stand before you as one of your next DNC member-elects. I want to congratulate Christine Pelosi and all of the DNC candidates who got elected or re-elected this past weekend in San Diego. It's truly an honor to be among this group, and I'm thrilled for this opportunity to serve on the DNC with all of you. I'm deeply honored to be the first Gen Z person in our state's history to be elected directly onto the DNC by our state party as a 4-year term member. Thank you, California Democrats, for this honor. And Democrats, I will work hard for you and for our party. I want to thank this party, the SFDCCC, for nurturing my growth through the internship program in the past. And thank you everyone who has reached out and shared your thoughts, ideas, concerns with me. I will take everything that I've learned and heard from you all, first as an intern of this party and now as a DNC member-elect, with me and make it my own as I move forward in this new chapter. I congratulate everyone who will be appointed tonight as a DSCC delegate or an executive board member of the state party by this committee. And please let me know if there's anything that I could do to help and support you. My number is 408-921-6507. Again, 408-921-6507. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Next up is Omar Rincon, followed by Hazel Lee.
Hello everyone, Omar Rincon, currently serving on San Francisco Young Democrats leadership. I first wanted to just welcome to all of you and congratulate you in your election. We look forward to work with each and every single one of you. Second, I just wanted to thank the body as a whole, and especially Chair Tong for being very acute on addressing the sexual harassment issues that we're facing in the political arena. Yesterday's first meeting that we had with the committee was very promising, very productive, and we look forward to continue the process. But specifically, we wanted to thank you for putting attention to the issue.
Last up is Hazel Lee.
Good evening. My name is Kaysel Lee, exercising presidential privilege.
You get 4 minutes.
Thank you. Things have changed. First of all, I want to thank you, Chair Tong, for nominating me to be a delegate to the California Democratic Party. It is an honor. It is a responsibility that, with the indulgence of this committee, I am hopeful to accept and to represent San Francisco Democrats and San Francisco values at the state level. I also want to echo Omar's comments earlier about yesterday's special committee workshop on sexual harassment. It is a promising start. It was a collegial discussion on what needs to be done, what needs to be, what people are experiencing, and I think not only do we know how far we need to go, but also how much we can fix by working together, regardless of our differences outside of the room. When we're at the table, we agreed on so much. It is a testament to whenever we say, oh, in San Francisco, we often agree 95% of the time, fight over the 5%. This is the 95% of the time, because this work is so necessary to get to have safe spaces in our party, to have people who need to know how to conduct themselves, but also people who model the good conduct that we expect from all San Francisco Democratic leaders. We saw a lot in that room tonight, and we hope to continue that work moving forward with the help of, and I also want to shout out Acting Chair Lily Ho on that committee for facilitating the discussion, for bringing people together in such an important discussion that unfortunately people in this political space have been spoken for far too long. It's time to finally be part of the solution. Thank you.
That concludes, that's all the public who assigned to get public comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if Regional Director Henny Kelly, did you have, Director Kenny? Henny Kelly, did you have anything to say?
I'm waiting till I'm making my report. Do you want me to
Okay.
make my report now?
We have reports.
We put it at the end of the meeting.
Yes, I see that you do have a space at the end of the,
It's just to keep a little old lady, you know, up
on your toes.
On her toes, right.
On your toes.
On my toes.
Thank you, Director Kelly. So, public comment being over, we will move to the next agenda item, which is reports. There have been some reports that have been submitted in writing, which are accessible through the hyperlinks in the agenda, the 72-hour agenda. But we will start with the chair's report. And so I do want to provide an update to the party with respect to my ability to participate on the special committee on sexual assault and harassment. I am cleared to participate. However, because Acting Chair Ho has done such a fabulous job, I'm going to elevate her to permanent chair of that special committee. I will take a seat on the committee as an ex officio. I also do want to discuss and thank Member Avalos for bringing to my attention some procedural requirements that we have with respect to hiring of staff, including the executive director. Executive Director Garcia will be leaving us on May 31st. And while it was my intention to bring Babak Esfandari, I said that, Esfandari, on as the Executive Director, we do need to follow the rules, and I appreciate Member Avalos pointing out the policies and procedures. I myself am, it's my job to be a rule follower, and so I appreciate him raising these issues with me. So with that regard, it is the general practice of the party to advertise and announce vacancies for staff, and I will do so at this time, that we will have a vacancy for a permanent executive director beginning with the term beginning on June 1st. Given the shortness of all of this, and that we do require staff from now until until May 31st, given that Executive Director Garcia is also taking several days of vacation between now and the end of the month. I will appoint Babak S. Vindari as our interim executive director with that period to end on May 31st as well. The vacancy for the executive director position will be open for the next week. We will send a job description to all of our charter Democratic clubs and invite anyone to apply. You should be able to start on June 1st as the executive director, should you choose to apply. And also we will post this on our website. I'm also broadcasting it now. So if there's anyone out on Facebook that would like to apply for the executive director position of the San Francisco Democratic Party, please do so. We invite anyone to apply, and you may send your resume and a cover letter to nancy@sfdems.org. So thank you very much. Those are the chair's reports. Vice Chair Calmucci.
I have no report.
Thank you. Second Vice Chair Barnes. Third Vice Chair Akbar.
No report.
Fourth Vice Chair Heiken.
I will save my report for the club relations and chartering.
Thank you very much. Director Lai.
Our goal in November is to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. To do that, we need money. So hold your calendars for a gala, Thursday, July 11th.
More information to come. And the more important update, as your finance director, I have subsidized 20 Cheez-It bags, if anybody would like some snacks at some point.
Thank you, Director Lai. I also forgot to mention one thing in my report. Our policies and procedures also suggest that I have an ad hoc committee for the hiring of any staff, and for this position of executive director, the ad hoc committee I appoint is the executive committee. Okay, moving on. Internal operations, Director Chen.
I have no report.
Thank you. External operations, Director Cole has submitted something in writing. Do you have anything to add to what you've submitted in writing?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I think many of you know that the DCCC is part of the Bay Area Coalition. For those of you that don't know, that is a coalition of Democratic organizations working hard to get Democrats in swing districts elected. We want to do our part. So we are planning to outreach to all Democratic clubs in San Francisco. So if you are a member of a Democratic club, I hope you'll amplify the message that we're looking for volunteers. And then we'll also be putting out a broad communication on our social media. So if you don't follow the DCCC on Facebook or Instagram, please do so. Currently, the Bay Area Coalition has 2 programs up and running: phone banking on Wednesdays from 5 to 7 and on Saturdays from 1 to 3. And also, if you're looking for a way to spend a weekend day, you can get in a car and drive to the Central Valley where they are canvassing. We've got 2 congressional districts we're hoping to flip in November. And then my last request is that we're looking for a physical space to hold an in-person phone banking for the Bay Area Coalition. So if anybody has ideas about an in-person space where we can come together and build community and work hard for Democrats in swing districts, please reach out to me. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Coles. Standing committees, anything in addition to the written submission, Vice Chair Calmucci.
I have nothing in addition to the written.
Thank you. Endorsements, Chairs Aliota, Pure, and Barnes.
Yeah, Chair Tom. Thank you. I just wanted really to, it's pretty clear we've got a phase 1 and a phase 2 for the endorsements. Our proposed candidate interviews are for the weekend in phase 1 for the Mayor and Board of Supervisors, are the weekend of Saturday and Sunday, July 20th and 21st. And right now our proposed endorsement meeting for the Mayor and the Board of Supervisors will be on Wednesday, July 24th, during our regularly scheduled July meeting. And then for phase 2 right now, which is going to focus on the city attorney, the district attorney, sheriff, treasurer, board of ed, community college, BART board, and ballot propositions, we are still interview dates are really up in the air. So on the document that we submitted, it says Saturday and Sunday, August 24th and 25th, but it might be the weekend before that. We're still ironing out some issues, but the proposed vote should be on Wednesday, August 28th, and all of these fall in line with the different offices and their filing deadlines, which is why it's split into two. Mayor and Board of Supervisors has an earlier filing deadline of, I want to say, I don't have any document, I want to say like June 11th, and then the board, and then the second one is August 9th. So that concludes. Carrie, do you want to add anything?
Oh, no, thank you. I was making sure you got it right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next is, I think voter registration, but Vice Chair Akbar, did you have anything on voter registration?
Not at this time.
Club relations and chartering, Vice Chair Hyken.
Hello, this is Vice Chair Emma Hyken.
Hi, this is Vice Chair Emma Hyken, also Chair of the Club Relations and Chartering Committee. My fellow member of this committee is Member Michael Nguyen over here. So we are part of the party's bylaws. All the Democratic clubs in San Francisco must be rechartered within 5 months of the election of the new Democratic County Central Committee. So that means by August 2024. So we are going to be reaching out to each of the clubs with a survey. It should be in each of the clubs' hands at this point about the rechartering process, your relationship with the party, how each Democratic club can best support the party, how the party can best support each Democratic club in town, because the Democratic clubs are the bread and butter of our party, and of the future of voter registration, voter engagement, voter education across the Democratic Party spectrum in our city. So we are initiating that process with a survey. We're also going to be meeting individually with many of the Democratic Club leadership in town to hear face-to-face about your experiences with the party, to make sure that we understand the historics of party relations with the Democratic clubs in order to improve them moving forward. So please, I encourage all the Democratic clubs to please fill out the survey and to please respond to either Michael or I when we reach out. We want to make sure that our relationships are strong and robust and full of trust and clear communications, so that we can, as Michael and I said, secure victories in purple states across the country and for all Democrats in San Francisco. Thank you, Vice Chair Hyken. Issues and Resolutions Committee.
Send it over. Great.
My report will be brief on behalf of co-chair of Issues and Resolutions, Member Ho, and myself. We will be clarifying some of the processes around issues and resolution to hopefully make it easier and transparent as to how people submit resolutions and then have them approved. We'll also look forward to working with Chair Tung on making sure that that process is as clear as possible. So I look forward to further engagement from all our DCCC members to make sure that this suits you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Gupta. Bylaws? Thank you. Special committees. Chair.
Thank you. I want to extend my gratitude to Chair Tung for entrusting me with the role of chair of this special committee. Thank you. Last night we held our first workshop, and this workshop's intent was to collaboratively create the bylaws, to create the code of conduct and sexual harassment and assault policies that will be implemented, hope to be implemented within our charter Democratic clubs. I'd like to report that it was extremely well attended, and there was a high level of engagement by many members of our community. In total, there were 14 stakeholders, including 12 Democratic clubs present. The 12 Democratic clubs present were the Richmond Democratic Club, the United Democratic Club, Westside Democratic Club, Latinx Democratic Club, Noe Valley Democratic Club, SF Young Dems, Eastern Neighborhoods, Harvey Milk, Filipino American Democratic Club, D11 Dems, Phoenix Dems, and Bernal Heights Democratic Club. We additionally had the Cal Dems Ombudsman's representing, as well as SF Women's Political Committee. In total, there were 29 people there, and we spent hours having robust conversations about how we intend to move forward and what we would like to see as an outcome of this special committee. We found common ground on 3 primary objectives and goals of the structure of the policies and code of conduct. And those 3 goals were to be 1, victim-centric, 2, educational, and 3, to have clear process and guidelines that would be useful to the clubs. I'd like to thank my fellow members of the committee, member Trevor Chandler, who had led the breakout session on code of conduct. Member Bilal Mahmood led the breakout session on reporting protocols, and Vice Chair Barnes led the breakout session on the definitions and terms. I feel like all of my fellow members in this committee have been extremely strong leaders, and we were able to build an environment that made everybody feel safe to contribute to the conversation. We know that this is a very difficult and sensitive topic to many people, but we were able to be extremely productive and had a lot of engagement. There's a lot of more work to do, and I look forward to working with my special committee along with all of our stakeholders to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Hope. So let me just turn it over to Executive Director Garcia and perhaps Interim Executive Director Esfandari, if there are any comments.
I have a question for Vice Chair Ho, and it's really about, I appreciate the work that's been done, and I had talked to a lot of, not a lot, but some club members from Bernal Heights neighborhood, from Bernal Heights Democratic Club and District 11 Democratic Club, and people felt very welcome to participate. But what I was a little bit confused about was, I didn't see any public notice about yesterday's meeting, the workshops, and I know the next one, and I'm just not sure if that's how the committee has been put together, that there would not be that kind of public notice about meetings, and it'd be great to understand how the special committee will be working in the future, and when the public's involved and not, and the length of the term. That'd be great, thank you.
Thank you, Member Oblis. That's a very good question. I'm grateful that you're bringing it up. So we invited our stakeholders to the meeting. It was not a public meeting open to the general public. We specifically invited all of our charter Democratic clubs and a lot of victim-centric survivor groups and organizations that would be able to help contribute to the conversations with their expertise and experiences. So for that reason, it was not a public meeting. We felt like it was most important to, 1, ensure that the space was safe in a place where people could speak freely. And also, these are the stakeholders that will be most impacted by this. They're going to be the ones that will be implementing these bylaws and policies and code of conduct into their bylaws. So they should have the most say in it. And for that reason, we wanted to keep it like an intimate environment. And even though it was intimate, there was still 29 people present in those conversations. So it was kind of a good balance of being large enough to be robust with a lot of different perspectives, and still looked like very strong level of engagement by everybody there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I ran into a couple of people who were coming out of the meeting, and they reported that it went really well. So
thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate it.
Let's see, so Executive Director reports.
I'll also submit this in writing since it will be more detail. But I was in San Diego this weekend for the executive board meeting, supported pretty much all of our delegates in voting, so securing them proxies and making sure they had folks there to cast their ballots. The DNC election had about 98.6% participation. That was wonderful. And also I'm a member of the Rules Committee of the state body, and we approved our AGEM procedures for 2025. So it's a while away, but we do it pretty far in advance. And there are some great changes I think folks will appreciate. The biggest one is that we are allowing online voting. And so kind of getting rid of the awful situation we had for the past 2 terms. We also have dates for all of these things. So I'll send this to the committee as well as to the clubs, but just it's a big shift for us. Just want to have folks know that. Additionally, member Lisa Morris is on resolutions committee. They heard a lot of resolutions, and also on Saturday they heard from the ballot measures that the state party was going to approve. And when the state party doesn't take a position on a ballot measure, the local party is able to. So there was 3 measures that received no position. And if there is not an executive board meeting in August, then those will stand, and this committee will have the opportunity to take a position on those ballot measures. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. All right, now, are we ready for Region 7 Director Penny Kelly?
I don't use microphones. This is my whispering voice. It's not even my outside voice. I would like to say something about the last meeting that upset me a great deal as a regional director and a woman and a nice little old lady. But my picture was taken by the Standard. The fact that I was sexually, whatever it's called, was written by the Standard, and I was misquoted by the Standard. That's all I wanted to say about that. I was very, very upset. So I wrote to the Standard, and I wrote to the person who took the picture, and told them I was very upset and I would like to talk to them. They have not talked to me. So I am rather upset, okay? I don't care that people know that I was raped. I don't care that people took a picture of me. I really am upset because they said that is why, as a teacher, I taught girls to say no. Bullshit! Saying no doesn't do you a damn bit of good. I taught girls who wanted to have sex, you can go ahead and have sex as long as it's protected sex. I taught my boys in my class, the young men, to take no for an answer. Every Monday, they had to come back to me and shake my hand and say, we did what you said. That was the important thing. And I think that I'm happy I have never read the Standard and will never, ever start. I am extremely upset, and I wanted you to know that. So if any of you know anybody on the Standard, tell them, let me have my lipstick before I get my picture taken. Quote me correctly, and ask me if I want my picture in your whatever the hell it is. Now, can I make my report? Yes.
Yes.
One of the things I want to talk about is chartering. rechartering to make sure that it goes into all the things that the party wants. And I have been doing this for the past, God knows how long. It's a really very, very, very important thing because I don't want anything to go wrong. And usually they are perfect. But sometimes I have to go in and say you need to change this statement and this statement. It should be written this way. I usually give 3 or 4 different choices of how to write it because people, do it in a different way. But there are certain things that have to be in there because you are part of the state party and they have those rules, okay? That's number 1. Number 2 is that I'm always there to help clubs. If you have meetings with clubs and you want to invite me, I will come to all of those meetings because I can represent the state and make sure that things are going right. I can get things changed if you need to get them changed, and that's really very important to me. The ADEMS, I've also worked on ADEMS sometimes till midnight, counting votes. It's very nice that we don't have to count the votes, they're all counted for us. I have known that Democrats are wonderful people because they stayed after when we were thrown out of a building because the building closed. We hadn't finished counting the votes. It was pouring and they held their umbrellas over us while we sat on the concrete and got the votes done. So that's something that I do want you to know about. We will make the ADEMS as easy as possible, and people will be able not only to vote online, but if you want to come, you'll be able to vote. And if you're out of town on that day and you forgot to vote, you can go to any of the meetings all over the 58 counties. So I think it's a good thing, and I do want to thank you all and the people who were at the e-board meeting. It was a really excellent meeting, and I am so proud that we have 3 members on the Rules Committee, 5 members from our group. It is an amazing group, and we will be needing them in the future, and they're are very interested, and the party is very interested in what you are doing on the code of conduct. And I've talked to them about it, and they said, we always can make it better. And if you make it better, they'll make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from a standing committee from the state party? Okay, seeing no hands. Item number 6 on our agenda is appointment of delegates to the California Democratic State Central Committee. I've submitted a list of 14 individuals. I received, typically speaking, each of the members, elected members here, is by virtue of their election, has a seat on the Democratic State Central Committee. 2 of our elected members, Vice Chair Barnes and Director Coles, are elected members to KDEM, and so they have allowed me to appoint 2 additional seats on their behalf. I do have a list of 14 Democrats for ratification of the appointments, and if there is any, is there a motion motion to approve the delegates?
Motion approved.
It's Member Weiner. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, may we take this without objection?
Yes.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations to the new appointees. Item, yes. Yes. Member Weiner's proxy.
Matthew Rothschild, just appointed. I just wanted to thank Chair Tung. This is a lot of hard work, I hope people know. And I hope I'm not being pedantic for those that don't know how the state party works. I assume all the new people know the state party works. You're appointed by an elected official, that's a third of the members. You come from the county committees, that's a third of the members. And then the ADEMs are a third of the members. And the state party has about 3,000 delegates. And then it meets once a year. And the other 3 times a year that the party meets is the executive board, and there are only 310%. So I want to say 2 points on this. One, I also wanted to thank, there's been a tradition, I may not know for many years, that former chairs have been allowed and been appointed, and I wanted to congratulate Chair Tung for appointing Hein Mahogany. I was the chair, when you're a chair of the party, it's a great deal of work. And proud to have done it myself, and Chair Campos appointed me. And we didn't always agree, and I appreciated that very much. But the acknowledgement, hard work, showing up, helping with everything that the party does. So I think that these are really great appointments. I also want to make sure people, I know we haven't gotten there to number 7 yet, but when I was chair, we only had 3 members on the executive board. Because the executive board is dependent on how many registered Democrats we have in our county. Because we've done such a good job, we now have 4. So that's really important. You can keep that up, Mr. Voter registration, because we want to have 4 votes. We want to have 4 votes, and this gentleman knows because the executive board elects the people that California sends to the DNC. Right. So that's congratulations. But I just want to congratulate the chair for this list, and now we're on to the ADEMs, and we'll elect more good Democrats later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rothschild, proxy to Member Weiner. So item number 7, appointment of executive board members to the California Democratic State Central Committee. As Mr. Rothschild explained to everybody, this is the executive committee of the state party, and these appointments must be made from the elected members of our DCCC here. I am appointing myself, Vice Chair Dan Calamucci, Vice Chair Emma Heiken, and Member Parag Gupta. Is there a motion to approve the executive board member appointments? Motion by Member Dorsey. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Member San Girardi. Can we take this without objection? Phew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations. Now we're moving on to the meat of our meeting. Item number 8 is a resolution declaring racism and hate incidents as a public health crisis in San Francisco by Member Mahmood. Could I have a motion to consider this item?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Calamucci. And second?
Second.
Seconded by Member San Girardi. Member Mahmood, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Tung, and thank you, members, for allowing me to speak about this resolution. I want to start with why we wanted to introduce this resolution today, the context and the history, as well as the impact we hope it will have for our city over time. We're declaring a resolution here to declare racism and hate incidents as a public health crisis because if you look at hate crimes as the tip of the iceberg, as representative of racism and hate incidents beneath the iceberg, these incidents have been growing exponentially for years. And this is personal for me as a Muslim American who's seen Islamophobia rise over the last year. In high school, my family left the country and we lived abroad for 2 years because of the Islamophobia that they were seeing even in the Bay Area. And it taught me from a young age that even in one of the most liberal and progressive cities and counties and regions in the country, we are not immune to racism and hate. And over the last year, due to international incidents, that hate has risen again, domestically, and even in San Francisco. And I felt that. And so I looked into the data, and what I noticed was that mirrored the anecdotal and the lived experience that I was seeing. The rate of Islamophobia right now is at the highest level it's ever been since post 9/11. But the second thing that I noticed as I looked into hate crimes in the FBI and even SFPD, hate crimes in San Francisco, was that Muslim Americans were not the only ones who've been suffering from hate crimes rising over the last several years. Over the last several years, pretty much for the last 10 years, hate crimes and hate incidents have been rising exponentially for almost every demographic group, marginalized communities and people of color. It wasn't just Muslim Americans, it was the Jewish community, it was LGBTQ community, it was Latino population, it was the Black population, every single population, anti-Asian population, API population, they have been experiencing hate crimes and hate incidents rise for the last 10 years. Since 10 years ago, there's been a 99% increase in hate crimes at the national level, and in San Francisco, there's been close to a 200% increase over the last 10 years. And one of the most shocking things to me as I looked into the data was that every year, a different demographic for the last 4 years has faced the brunt of that hate. In 2020, it was a rise in anti-Black racism, where there was an extraordinary spike in hate crimes. In 2021, we saw another exponential spike in anti-Asian hate crimes. In 2022, we saw another spike in the LGBTQ community, specifically towards anti-trans hate crimes. And in 2023, we've seen hate incidents rise in the Jewish community and the Muslim and the Arab communities as well. And understanding that exponential rise, talking to health experts, and even the CDC has noted that racism effectively is a public health crisis that from the data is behaving like an epidemic. The rise in the metrics behaves epidemiologically just like an epidemic. But it goes further than that. Racism, as indicated by the documentation of hate incidents and hate crimes, is not just looking like a health epidemic, it actually has health implications. Survivors of hate incidents and hate crimes and racism face experiencing issues of mental health, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and more importantly, that trauma can be passed down generationally to your children and your grandchildren. We document in the resolution studies that prove this. And that's why the CDC last year already declared racism and its after effects to be a public health crisis for that reason. And the reason we wanted to document this and declare this is that effectively, if we can declare in San Francisco, which is a beacon for the rest of the country, what we declare as policy then echoes throughout California and throughout the rest of the country, that racism and hate incidents are a public health crisis, we can set a precedent that these issues and these crimes and these incidents are not just a public safety issue, but they are a public health issue as well. And the victims and the survivors of these incidents can get access to our public health dollars. Right now, victims and survivors who go through the process when they see this are underfunded and undersupported and underseen. And by declaring this resolution, we hope to ask the Department of Public Health to start to dedicate resources and funds both for language access programs, but direct services and funding to support the healthcare, the mental health of individuals who are subject to not just hate crimes, but hate incidents. Because not every form of racism rises to the level of criminal behavior, but that incident affects the individual just the same. And that's why we feel that's this resolution does two things for the first time, both in San Francisco, but from what we can tell in California, is it declares, just like we did in 2020, that anti-Black racism is a public health crisis. The Human Rights Commission has issued that resolution. The Board of Supervisors issued that same resolution in 2020 as well. We are now declaring it for all forms of hate and hate incidents that affect every marginalized community. And second, we are asking that the Department of Public Health provide and look into funding to directly support these survivors who have been under-supported for so long that face these health implications as well. I'm proud to read forward a list of endorsers. We've had a good coalition of unity of support from across the spectrum of every demographic group that we could find. From the union perspective, SEIU Committee of Interns and Residents has endorsed the resolution. The San Francisco Human Rights Commission, Alice B. Toklas LGBTQ Democratic Club, the Raoul Wallenberg Jewish Democratic Club, the Association for the Advancement of Asians, Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs, Asian Americans for Good Government, Dear Community, Zara Bilou, who's the Executive Director of the Council of American Islamic Relations, Cheryl Davis, Executive Director of SF Human Rights Commission, Honey Mahogany, Director of SF Office of Transgender Initiatives, Roberto Hernandez, CEO of Cultura sorry, I don't speak Spanish, but Ghana, okay. And then Reverend Arnold Townsend, who thankfully joined here today. So thank you, Reverend, for being here as well. And so I'm really proud to introduce this resolution with co-sponsors, including Cedric Akbar, Lanier Coles, Parag Gupta, Michael Nguyen, Josie Girardi, Jade Tu, and Jane Kim has offered her to co-sponsor as well. And appreciate your vote today and happy to answer your questions.
Is there any discussion? Any member like to be heard?
Thank you. Member Kim is a co-sponsor of this resolution, so I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to say the name Michelle Henry. She was a 25-year-old Black trans woman. She was violently murdered 1 week ago in our city. I want to echo former Chair Mahogany's sentiments that Michelle brought so much joy to our community. She is loved and she will not be forgotten. Thank you, Member Mahmood, for the resolution.
Member, I want to say Member LaCroix, but
One day, we'll get that there. Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of Member Moore. He would like to be included as a co-sponsor.
Thank you.
I specifically wanted to call out a few stats regarding the LGBTQ community. Thank you for those words from Member Kim. In 2022, hate crimes were up 20% across California, but for trans folks, they were up 55% that year. This trend has continued. It's even worse the younger you get. And for the LGBTQ community at large, they are 9 times more likely to be victims of violent hate crimes. And within that, again, the younger you are, the more likely and the more violent those crimes are. And this is trauma these are scars that queer folks keep with them throughout their lives, whether or not they're mental or physical. Member Mahmood, thank you for leading this resolution. I'm very happy to be the sponsor. Thank you.
any other discussion? Oh, so I'm actually going to call for co-sponsors at this point. Let's see. Back to here. I believe that I would like to be a co-sponsor of this resolution. I think it's a very important and apt way to look at the effect of hate crimes and hate incidents that occur. I mean, and just looking at the people who are sitting here with us on the stage, I can bet that every single one of us has experienced something along those lines during our lifetime. And so trauma does not exist in a vacuum. And it maybe dulls over time, but never fully goes away. And so recognizing how this type of trauma, whether it is a
a microaggression, whether it's a heat incident or an actual violent crime, how that can impact a person across their lifetime and how it informs the way they move through society. I think this is a brave step in recognizing that, and also towards healing trauma that we probably have all experienced. So thank you, Member Mahmood. I'm happy to be a co-sponsor on this. Any other co-sponsors? So Vice Chairs Barnes and Kalamucci, Member Dorsey, Director Lai, Member Chandler, and I see Member Pierre Alioto here. Co-sponsors, can I have a motion to adopt this resolution? Member Lai, Director Lai, sorry. And then, is there a second? Member Wiener, thank you. Members, can we take this by acclamation? Seeing no objection, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, thank you and congratulations, Member Mahmood. So item number 9, resolution in support of transparency, accountability, and effectiveness of San Francisco's public safety services. Director Cole, I'm sorry, could we have a motion to consider this item?
So moved.
Any second? All right, Director Coles.
Thank you, Chair Tom. I also want to thank Lily Ho, who is my co-author, as well as the 6 other co-sponsors who helped me shape this resolution. I know everyone in this room is a keen observer of San Francisco elections. And you know that the voters in this city have signaled that they do not feel safe. First, they recalled our former DA in 2022. And then more recently, in March, the voters passed Prop E. Our voters want elected officials in government agencies and departments to improve public safety. And at the same time, 64% of registered voters in San Francisco are Democrats, and they believe, like all of us, in the values of the Democratic Party. This includes justice and equity. This resolution calls for a criminal justice system that will be fair and effective. I won't sugarcoat it. This vision will be extraordinarily hard to execute. But we must not shy away from this vision if we want San Francisco to be known as the best run Democratic city in America. What this resolution is not a call for mass incarceration. People who commit crimes should be held accountable, and at the same time, public safety services should use solutions other than incarceration when it's appropriate. The police department, which is one of the key stakeholders in enforcing public safety, is unfortunately understaffed. So we are calling for a fully staffed and fully funded police department with market competitive bonuses. But even with those bonuses, it could be years before we get back to a fully staffed police department. And that's where Prop E comes in, giving the police tools and technology to do more with less. We're urging the Board of Supervisors in the upcoming budget cycle to approve funding to fully implement Prop E. Once the police have these new tools and processes in place that were mandated by the voters, we should hold the police accountable to use those tools responsibly to solve crimes. Why is it important to solve crimes? Because solving crime is the #1 deterrent to crime. And lastly, I want to talk about the Superior Court criminal record system. Living in San Francisco during the digital revolution is like living in Florence during the Renaissance. It's kind of unfathomable that the Superior Court has not fully digitized the records. We're calling for full digitization of the criminal court records to increase transparency for both victims and the accused. So I hope you will vote Join me in voting for accountability, effectiveness, and transparency in San Francisco public safety services. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on this item? Member Avalos.
I'm speaking for myself. Thank you for bringing this forward, and I did talk with Director Coles about this beforehand, and there were things that we agreed on. However, I was not a supporter of Prop E, and a lot of this is, and I understand, I think what Prop E was actually doing, from my perspective, was actually removing what the police department had seen as barriers for being able to pursue crime and investigation. And now we're talking about putting in place accountability measures, but we're actually not putting in place accountability measures here in this. We're talking about buying technology and digitizing the court records. I agree with digitizing court records, but what is the cost of that? We have a budget crisis right now in San Francisco, and it is a budget crisis. I heard yesterday it was an $800 million budget deficit. That's probably over 2 years. And we have many services and programs that provide a great deal of public safety for residents around housing, around street conditions, and access to behavioral health care, around our conditions around hate crimes in the city and the pursuit of very vulnerable communities that are subject to hate. And if we're actually saying that we need to give full funding for the technology for Prop E implementation, we're actually saying it's going to be less available for other programs and services that are really important for the budget. Now, I understand that a large number of people, maybe the majority of people here, supported Prop E, and you want to see it implemented. It's important to know that there's a balance. And if we're actually looking at fully staffed in the police department, I think it's important to understand what fully staffing means, and also understand what the cost of it is. And I think of it in terms of serial budgeting, is that you budget one service that's deemed a greater priority than other services, and then you work on budgeting other services after that. Well, that means if one intervention or prevention effort that's under the police department gets the lion's share of the funding, all the other programs and services that help to provide a sense of prevention and public safety, neighborhood conditions, housing conditions that actually help people feel secure in their homes and their communities get less funding. We have programs that have been cut, that have been eliminated over the past couple of years that get restored back in the budget process. Those are going to get cut again this year, especially services to help households that are dealing in substandard housing conditions that affect their mental health of their children and seniors in their homes will have actually the inability to actually make sure their homes can be safe and secure. There's a fight to restore that, but if we're actually funding more money in the budget for implementation of Prop E, there'll be less money that can be available to actually have immediate impact on households being able to actually fix the substandard conditions that affect their plumbing, about rodents and vermin in their houses, that really affect the conditions of people living in. And that's just one example. So I understand y'all could vote on this, and I respect that. I'm gonna vote no on this measure, and I would abstain, but because we're making a choice about how we should spend our money over other services and programs, I think that's a role that City Hall and the Board of Supervisors must contend with. And having folks who are even in the Democratic County Central Committee, we're not in City Hall making those decisions about how budgets are balanced. And a budget is a moral document about what is most important to be taken care of. So I'm going to be voting no. I just want to give you a heads up and make sure you understood the reasons why. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Member Nguyen.
Hi, Michael Nguyen here. I thank you, Member Avalos, for your comments. I also was in opposition to Prop E, and I initially was thinking also to kind of just abstain because this is just a resolution, and that's great. And I want to thank Director Coles for bringing this up because I really do believe in transparency, accountability of our public safety services. I think it's just I believe in more care and not more cops in my mind. And so that's kind of where I'm falling on this. I also want to uplift a name of Jackson Salas, who was a young 20-year-old gay Asian man who was found dead in a stranger's apartment. The cop in 2020, this was during the pandemic times. His parents are still grieving. I just saw them last weekend. He died of an overdose of GHB, and in the reports, and they said one of the cops the chief medical examiner said, "Oh, this is just the gays have the GHB thing, and they do this all the time. They're disposable, basically." There's a petition, Change.org petition to reopen case, and there's all these things that specifically about police accountability, transparency, and effectiveness. I don't believe that more cops will help create our spaces be more safe for our people. It's our communities that keep us safe, and I believe when Member Avalos brought up that support services for intervention to keep our streets safe and community feeling safe would be impacted by the implementation of property, that also pushed me into the no side. And also, one last thing, the idea of drones and implementing surveillance cameras. I do not want to live in a surveillance state. I understand that is kind of where property was going, and it's kind of, it makes me a little bit terrified. So that's why I'm also voting no on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Nguyen. Any other discussion? Member Lai? I'm sorry, Director Lai.
I want to briefly thank Director Coles and express my support for this resolution. I think that public safety, we're hearing loud and clear from San Franciscans, is the #1 issue at the moment. And when the department, SFPD, is down 23% sworn officers, and there's 300 some more that are eligible for retirement this year, we need to have more efficiency and more accountability as well. I don't think that Prop E is a perfect piece of legislation. It's a very complicated issue. It does 6 different things. And I actually want to speak to one piece, I think 9612D. There's a part on the vehicle pursuit policy that I'm personally I think hopefully could be edited a bit in the implementation to address some of the concerns. But I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think policy also isn't just what we need good implementation. And so I'm hoping that with the will of the voters, there is some funding applied to it. I understand it's a deficit environment, so that it can increase effectiveness in the right direction. And for example, like section 9612A, limiting administrative paperwork to 20% of an officer's time, I'm hoping that we can do that when some of the officers that I speak to are saying they're spending 40% of their time on different paperwork. So I'm hoping that, back to Director Coles too, saying San Francisco values, we have safety, we have justice, we also have privacy. That's very important, and I'm hoping that while we can keep those latter 2 important, that we can beef up the safety part as well.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Yes, Member Santurari.
I'll say there we are. There were a few issues that I had with Prop E. I was not a public supporter of Prop E in the March election. In part, we talked about the 20%, and we didn't actually create a guide for which policies need to be implemented and which should have paperwork. We just said 20%, and I think that anybody in any professional job, would be very strange if your boss just said, "Oh, you hit 20% of your time, and the paperwork shouldn't be the concern right now." And this doesn't actually tell us from a policy perspective which of the policies should be, or which things should actually require paperwork or not. So that's one issue I have with it. I also think that it's very complicated to have the public vote on such minutia policy within the police commission. So it's another issue. And being, at one point a young queer man from Oklahoma, where government is not necessarily a source of good, but it is actually a point of pain for a lot of people's lives in a very far-right state, where people literally use police to abuse power to attack minority communities. And technology, for me, in Oklahoma would not be the answer, and I don't think that technology is always necessarily the answer in solving our public safety measures. And as an example, we talk about these speeding cameras in different intersections around the city, and I think there are ways that we can actually change the built environment to keep people from speeding, and we've chosen to not do that and to instead put cameras everywhere. And we know that there are 1,000 other benefits that can happen from shaping the physical environment about the roads that we drive on to prevent that also help make better communities and make communities more livable, but we chose not to do that. So I'll be abstaining from this because this is regarding a ballot measure that was put to the people. The voters voted to approve it by 54%. It was the second least popular measure that did pass. Algebra passed overwhelmingly. The affordable housing bond passed overwhelmingly. There were a lot of ballot measures that passed overwhelmingly. This was the second least popular of the ones that did pass, but it did pass, and that's why I'll be abstaining and respecting the voters' choice. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Member Ho?
Thank you for feedback. Oh, wonderful, thank you. I appreciate Member Avalos, Member Nguyen, and Member Sangiardi's responses and your concerns. In fact, I very much appreciate all of your perspectives. For me, the reason why I wanted to co-sponsor this along with Director Coles is that public safety is the primary concern for many communities and the majority of San Francisco. We've seen, in addition to how we have seen San Franciscans vote, there was just a poll in February, a public poll that reported that 75% of San Franciscans wanted a fully staffed police department. As Director Coles mentioned, this is not easy to implement. There's no cookie cutter way to do this. Although we all want safety, we all have some different ideas of how to get there. But with the passage of Prop E, this is the will of the voters, and we would be remiss to not acknowledge that the public wants to see elected officials and government agencies to focus on the improvement of public safety however we can, understanding that police shortage will be affecting our city for many years to come. And so I respect that this resolution calls for public safety to be fair and effective. I think that it is well intended, and there is something in there around digitizing records for transparency that is good for both victims and the accused. It's just the systems that we have in our court systems are just tragic. It's tragic. We live in Silicon Valley here, and it is a tragic system that we have, and it's been ignored for so long. I understand we are in a budget crisis. Everybody is being hit from all angles. But we would be remiss to not acknowledge that this is also important to work on. And so that is why I chose to co-sponsor this with Director Coles, and I thank you for your leadership in putting this hard work together.
Is there any more discussion on this item? Seeing none, let me ask if there are any members who would like to be added as co-sponsors. Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt this resolution? Member Dorsey, second. Member Feldhauer. I do note that we have some people who've expressed that they would like to, that this would not be appropriate for acclamations. Should we do a voice vote then, a roll call vote? Okay. Director Chen.
Roll call vote into the mic.
Right, calling the roll on the motion to approve item Item 9, resolution in support of transparency, accountability, and effectiveness of San Francisco's public safety services, sponsored by Director Colts. Calling the roll, Vice Chair Hawthorne.
Aye.
Aye. Member Elliott Appear.
Aye.
Aye. Member Avalos.
No.
No. Vice Chair Barnes.
Aye.
Aye. Vice Chair Calamucci.
Aye.
Aye. Member Chandler.
Aye.
Aye. Director Chen. Myself. Aye. Director Colts.
Aye.
Aye. Member Dorsey.
Aye.
Aye. Member Gulata.
Abstain.
Abstain. Member Gupta.
Aye.
Aye. Vice Chair Hyken.
Aye.
Aye. Member Ho.
Aye.
Aye. Member Kim.
Abstain.
Abstain. Director Lai.
Aye.
Aye. Member Mahmood.
Aye.
Aye. Member Mar.
Abstain.
Abstain. Member Wind.
No.
No. Member Philhar.
Aye.
Aye. Member Sangiardi.
Abstain.
Abstain. Member Stephanie.
Aye.
Aye. Member 2.
Aye.
Aye. Chair Tom.
Aye.
Aye. Ex officios. Member Cohen. Pass. Member Haney.
Aye.
Aye. Member Ma.
Abstain.
Abstain. Member Pelosi.
Aye.
Aye. Member Ting.
Abstain.
Abstain. Member Wiener.
Aye.
Aye. Going back. Member Cohen.
Aye.
Aye. By a vote of 21 yes, 2 no, 6 abstain, the ayes have it, and this motion carries.
Congratulations, Director Coles. Okay, next item is agenda item number 10, a resolution in support of recognizing the week of May 25th, 2024 through June 2nd, 2024 as Queer and Transgender Asian and Pacific Islander Week in the city and county of San Francisco. Member Nguyen. Floors, I'm sorry, can we have a motion to consider this item? Second?
Second.
Mar. Move.
Yes. Thank you.
Member Nguyen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Tom. Well, happy Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and happy Harvey Milk Day. Let's clear the air for a second. Well, I just want to share, growing up as a son of Vietnamese refugees, I don't ever remember my parents ever mentioning LGBTQ people. Not once. Even today, many AAPI families, especially immigrant families, think of LGBTQ thing as some Western phenomenon, some American concept. Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality in 1989, and that describes how interlocking systems of power affect those who are most marginalized in society. Now, at a time when LGBTQ plus Americans continue to be persecuted for who they are and who they love, with 515 pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation being introduced across the country, there's power in being at the intersection of AAPI and LGBTQ in identities. Asian Americans have been the fastest growing group of eligible voters in the United States over the past 2 decades. But hate in all its forms can be combated when community members act to center joy. And that's kind of why I started QTAPI Week. It's a high visibility week that showcases the contributions of QTAPIs. Say it with me, QTAPIs.
Happy when you say QTAPI.
It's so happy, right? And QTAPI Week was first recognized in 2021 in San Francisco, and thanks to Supervisor Mandelman in his office for helping with that. And has spread nationwide now. And actually, DC will be having their first QTAPI Week this year. This year in San Francisco, it's from May 25th through June 2nd. QTAPI Week continues to serve as a platform to organize our community into action, and this year we must organize to defeat Trump in November. Voter engagement, yes. I will hold for applause. Voter engagement is key to winning in the White House and key to winning back our House this November. On Tuesday, May 28th, the AAPI caucus of the Harvey Milk LGBTQ Democratic Club will host a voter engagement event with longtime LGBTQ and AAPI organizers Alma Sungi Beck, Steve Liu, and Eddie Wong. Eddie Wong, specifically, was the national field director of the 1988 Jesse Jackson for President campaign, Western Regional Director of the National Rainbow Coalition, and is currently on the organizing committee for Asian Americans for Democracy, AA4D, that recently announced $500,000 in grants to 10 state-based organizations in 7 key states where there are enough Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander voters to swing state electoral college results. When we organize, we win. So that's what's going to happen. Sorry. I'm just looking ahead to 2025. I am hopeful that California Democrats will pass a resolution to support statewide recognition of Kutapi Week. Specifically, World Pride will be held in Washington, D.C. next year, and it happens to overlap with Kutapi Week for the first time, providing a unique and once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Kutapis all around the world, and I'm not kidding, all around the world, to advocate for our shared liberation, especially in Asian and Pacific Islander countries that still criminalize how we exist and penalize our love. Now, more locally, as the capital of Asian America, did you know that San Francisco is the capital of Asian America? We San Franciscans have an opportunity to provide a platform for educators and organizers to create spaces where historical contributions of Kutapis can be learned and showcased. That is why I am asking that this resolution be sent to the Board of Education to ensure that AAPI kids know that LGBTQ AAPIs, or Kutapis, have existed and been known for thousands of years. Now, Harvey Milk implored folks at the 1978 Gay Freedom Parade to come out to their families and friends, to everyone they knew, because being visibly out effectively combats anti-LGBTQ sentiment. It's when your families know who you are as a person, and you remember that, hopefully, in the voter booth. The increase in violent attacks against Asian Americans since the COVID pandemic 2021 panini that it is, underscores the importance of the November election. And again, those swing states, we can literally win with the 1% Asian voters there. Kutapi folks have the special power to make real change in the LGBTQ and AAPI communities by activating networks and communities to make real difference in these swing states. So strong and robust Kutapi Week, celebrated throughout San Francisco, California, and the nation, can, in the words of Harvey, give them hope. And I implore you all to vote for this, and I think folks who have decided to co-sponsor as they want. Thank you.
I feel so cute happy. Is there any discussion on this item, members? Well, I for one would like to be a co-sponsor. Any other co-sponsors? Member Avalos, Member Galata, Member Marr. You've never looked so beautiful in your life. Member San Girardi, Member Kim, Vice Chair Calabucci, Member Dorsey, Member Chandler, Member 2, Member Gupta, Member Mahmood. Can I have a motion to adopt this resolution? Second? Members, can we take this by acclamation? Yes. All those in favor say happy Kutapi. Happy. All those opposed say no. Any abstentions? I was really surprised you guys said happy Kutapi. Happy Kutapi week. Number 1. Agenda item number 11, resolution encouraging regional financing of affordable housing in the 9 Bay Area counties. Member Avalos and Member Gupta, I understand you are co-sponsors along with some other people, but I will allow you to decide who will speak to the item.
I'll turn it over to you very quickly, okay? Colleagues, I just want to appreciate your adding this to the agenda, and I also want to appreciate the work of, is that working now? Yeah. Okay. So I want to appreciate adding this to the agenda, and I telegraphed that this was something I wanted to bring forward to the DCCC last meeting, and I saw it as something that really could unite us all together on without question. Right now, I just got word from the Mayor's Office of Housing that 40% of all housing construction right now is funded by the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. So we know that when we invest in housing production, even affordable housing production. We're actually growing the economy and creating jobs and putting people to work and actually working towards housing people and addressing our housing crisis. I wrote the original version of this measure. I got support from Bill Barnes, who's here with Nonprofit Housing. He directed me to a previously approved resolution in support of regional financing for affordable housing. It was a little more specific than that, and I brought that forward, and I'm just really pleased to have worked with Parag Gupta, Member Gupta, to actually finalize this measure. This measure does not look anything like the original one that I had put together. I think it's better. It definitely is, and I think it actually meets what I think our body is actually looking to do, is to put a good statement forward to the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority to support regional financing for affordable housing development in the Bay Area. This will be a measure that'll be placed potentially on the ballot June 26th. Today was one of the final hearings at the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, and the next time it comes before that body will be on June 26th, and I expect that it'll be approved possibly at a $20 billion mark of financing for affordable housing. So I'll pass it over to Member Gupta, who is also the director of the Issues Committee, and want to actually explain this new version of it, and which is actually far superior to the original. Thank you for your work. It was really great to work with you on this. I really appreciate the flexibility of the whole committee and the Democratic County Central Committee to make this go forward. Thank you.
Member Gupta. Great. Likewise, I'd just like to express my appreciation. I'm pleased to have worked with Member Avalos, Vice Chair Barnes, Vice Chair Calamucci, and Member Chan to bring forward this resolution that encourages regional affordable housing finance. And just to give a little bit of context on the issue, in 2022, 37,000 people were unhoused in the San Francisco Bay Area. At Mercy Housing, we have would-be residents that are on our wait list for over 10 years. Is it fair to leave someone's ability to have a stable life on the chance of an affordable housing lottery? No. Approximately 1.4 million Bay Area residents spend over half of their income on rent. That's money that a mother no longer has to make sure her child doesn't go hungry, or a grandfather doesn't have to get the medication that he may need. Because one thing we know for sure, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area, is rent eats first. Now, to meet our housing element goal, as you all know, we have to build over 180,000 affordable housing units. The good news is that we actually have 41,000 affordable housing units in pre-development. What they require is financing. This resolution encourages our region to find financing solutions, and this resolution is notable for 3 reasons. First, it recognizes that one city or even one county cannot solve the housing crisis that has built up over decades in this region. We must all come together, from San Francisco to Solano County, to recognize the work, life, and transit realities of the San Francisco Bay Area, and ultimately realizing a vision of Bay Area residents being able to spend no more than 30% of their monthly income on housing and being able to get to school or work within 30 minutes should they choose. That is the goal. That is the vision that we should all aim for. Second, this sends a clear message that the San Francisco Democratic Party is a pro-affordable housing party, and that it isn't enough to pay lip service, but actually look towards solutions. If, for example, BAFA were to bring forward a regional affordable housing bond in November, it would leverage 140% more financing through soft debt, low-income housing tax credit equity, and state tax equity for every dollar that it put forward. This resolution sends a clear message to candidates and allows them, if they're on the November ballot and seeking the Democratic Party endorsement, to indicate that they too believe in affordable housing and financing for affordable housing. Third, I'd say this is notable because this is a great model of collaboration across all shades of blue. Member Avalos, I'm grateful for your leadership on reaching out to various regional housing finance authorities like BAFA and helping to frame and give this resolution good bones. As you can see, this is co-authored and co-sponsored across this DCCC body, and it demonstrates the power of the San Francisco Democratic Party when we put the work of San Francisco first.
Thank you, Member Gupta. Any other discussion on this measure? On this resolution? Member Lai. I'm sorry, Director Lai.
I want to thank Member Avalos, Member Gupta, everyone for working on this. I want to express my support, and especially given that the threshold for passing is 66 point, it's 2/3, right, in November. I think it's really important that we're united and going out fighting for this to pass. And as somebody who worked on early childhood education and saw how early educators were priced out of living in San Francisco because they make the lowest wages in the BAFA bond report, I'm especially excited about this. Hopefully $20 billion of funding, and hopefully innovative financing solutions at a time when the macro interest rate environment is not supportive of building. So thank you all for your leadership, and I'm very supportive of this.
Director Chen, did you have a comment? No, I'm sorry, over here. Member
Bill Barnes, on behalf of Treasurer Ma.
Member Ma, thanks.
Treasurer Ma wants to be added as a co-sponsor. Her office administers the LIHTC program, the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, which is a federal program created in 1986 by the IRS to invest private equity. But in order to get that private equity into affordable housing, you also need local sources. And the problem is that we don't have sufficient local sources to build the 41,000 units in the pre-development pipeline that Mr. Gupta described. I also wanted to note, and especially thank the Carpenters for their work. The bond measure does include prevailing wage region-wide, which would lift the standard for construction of affordable housing. Not all of our Bay Area communities pay prevailing wage, and so that was a good amendment that happened through the process. And if communities want to adopt a PLA, they have the option to do that. But it sets a labor floor, so that's been really helpful to acknowledge Greg Hardiman for his advocacy on that, and would urge your yes vote.
Any other discussion? Member R. Member Avalos, you spoke already.
I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge all the. I just want to make sure I acknowledge all the co-sponsors for the measure, and I also wanted to add Assemblymember Ting as a co-sponsor as well. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And now we will call for any other members who would like to be added as co-sponsors. I myself would like to be added as a co-sponsor. I see Member Mahmood, Director Lai, Director Chen, Member Aliono Pierre, Member Chandler, Member Dorsey, and Member Kim, Member Sanjordi. Can I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
A second? Second. Members, can we take this by acclamation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? This resolution passes. Oh, I'm sorry, we have. We already did.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Now we can clap. All right. Item number 12 on the agenda, resolution supporting the prevention of homelessness by funding and launching the Foreclosure Intervention Housing Preservation Program. Could I have a motion to consider this item?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Member Galata, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Tung, and thank you, colleagues, for adding this item to tonight's agenda. We're going to keep the pro-housing theme going here with this item, so just building on, I think, the previous item, and also just acknowledging the resolution that passed at last month's meeting declaring the DCCC pro-housing. This
I think we're bringing forward this tonight to make good on that promise and also offer a concrete action that we can take in support of it. I want to start by just acknowledging and thanking Kyle Smealy, the Policy Director for the San Francisco Community Land Trust, for all of his advocacy and work to help raise greater awareness of the Foreclosure Intervention Housing Preservation Program, which is a long name, which is why we call it the FIP program for short, and just the need, really the urgent need for San Francisco to rally around this program and ensure that our state funds it. And I think Kyle really summarized the issue well tonight in his comments, but we're really here tonight in a bit of emergency because this program is at risk of not being funded in the state's budget this year at a time when this funding could not be more critical. Last year in San Francisco, 364 notices of default were filed at residential buildings that would be eligible for FIP funding. These include 325 tenant-occupied and 266 owner-occupied units valued at over $522 million in real estate that could be at risk of speculation by investors targeting these distressed buildings. So in addition to our own neighbors here in San Francisco, tens of thousands of renters are at risk of displacement from foreclosures across the state. And the FIP program would provide critical funds to allow affordable housing organizations to buy properties at risk of tenant displacement and turn them into permanently affordable housing. So the resolution before us tonight urges our state leaders to maintain the previously appropriated $237 million in funding for the FIP program, which I should mention is already a cut of over half of its original funding. But this funding is really needed to allow the program to demonstrate its efficacy and again to support displacement prevention and homelessness prevention efforts here in San Francisco and across the state. And I did want to note, because we mentioned the San Francisco housing element just before, that actually our housing element lists the FIP program explicitly as one source of funding to help the city meet its affordable housing targets. So we are really relying on this funding stream locally, and we, as we know, are facing our own budget challenges as a city, so we really can't afford right now to see this item zeroed out in the state budget. I think as we may know, the California legislature has to adopt their budget by June 15th. So the time is now for us to lift up this ask to our state legislators and to the governor so we can get this funding restored and really add our voice to a number of organizations that are really coming together and urging action on this. And I do want to thank the Board of Supervisors, and particularly Supervisor Chan, Dorsey, and Stephanie for unanimously passing a resolution in support of this FIP funding last week. So I hope tonight we can speak with one voice as San Francisco on this, work with our state legislators on this, particularly those that are represented on this committee and who are on also the state budget committee, to make sure we see this funding added back into the budget in the next few weeks. And I want to thank co-sponsors John Avalos, Parag Gupta, for signing on. I know there's a few other members I think that are interested in signing on. I think Member Wen and Member Kalamucci as well. But also just want to thank Chair Tung and also Member Gupta and the Resolutions Committee for your willingness to add this item to the agenda tonight, and hope to have your support, colleagues, on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Galata. Is there any discussion on this item? Members? Member Gupta.
Thank you, Member Galata, for bringing this forward. Thank you as well, Chair Tung. I forgot to thank you last time for considering this, the last resolution and this resolution, the 3-day agenda. Just want to also share that, I'm very thankful that we're bringing this forward and we're having this conversation, given the emergency state of this, in affordable housing and perhaps Mr. Barnes in capacity as Member Ma can attest to this. I mean, certainly our experience of working for one of the largest nonprofit affordable housers, we find that often it's very challenging to get money, LIHTC money, for preservation. It's often going towards new construction, which quite honestly is unfortunate, because it is much easier to preserve that housing to make sure people can continue to have their house rather than have to build new housing, which takes years, and then we have to go through the whole process of finding folks. In that meantime, what's happened, we know that people end up going down that spectrum of homelessness. And you know, people may balk at how can we afford the $500 million cost of this. I would ask, how can we afford not to? Right. When we look at the affordable, when we look at the human cost of that, if someone does slide down that spectrum and end up homeless, and then what happens to them with the trauma that they attain through becoming homelessness, compared to if we were able to save them. As someone noted in the audience before, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I'd urge all my colleagues here to do the right thing and also affirm this resolution that helps to preserve much needed housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Gupta, any other discussion on this item? Director Coles.
Thank you for bringing this resolution forward, Member Galata. On the face of it, I think this sounds incredibly important, and of course we want to prevent homelessness. But my question for you is about context. There were a series of news stories that came out about the general legislature in Sacramento ordering an audit, the state auditor to do an audit of the spending on homelessness programs at the state level. We spent $29 billion in the last 3 years. And so the legislature is engaged in trade-offs at the state budget level. And so if you have more information on why the governor slashed this and how we should think about this in the context of $29 billion being spent on homelessness services, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Member Galata.
Thank you, Director Coles, for that question. You know, I think that my understanding in speaking with the advocates is, you know, that the governor has said that this, the reason for the cut in funding for this is just because of the budget shortfall, which is unfortunate because this program has been on the books since 2021 and had funding allocated for it. So there's been delay in implementation, and it's just unfortunate that now that there's, you know, we're in this budget crisis, that the state is saying, well, we haven't even started this program, let's just take the money away from it before it even gets off the ground. So I think that's really what's happening here. I think certainly the state, I mean, it's important to be auditing our programs, I think at the state level and at the local level in terms of efficacy. This program hasn't even gotten off the ground, so it hasn't been a part of that audit, but I think as, even just as Member Gupta was just saying, I mean, this funding is a proven intervention tool, and it's about preserving existing housing. We don't have to wait for this housing to be built or wait for developers to get financed. Like, this is about keeping units and people housed today, and really it's just getting the money into the hands of local governments like our city to be able to immediately then put those dollars to work and prevent displacement and homelessness.
Member Obelus.
So this program is called the Foreclosure Intervention Housing Preservation Program. So it's not strictly about addressing homelessness, it's really preventing displacement of people. And because it's about foreclosure, it's actually addressing a population across the state, but in San Francisco that often is not taken care of. In San Francisco, during the subprime loan crisis that led to the recession, we had thousands of homes in the southern neighborhoods, mostly black, mostly people of color, but mostly black, that had actually lost their homes, and then there's a migration that has been steadily increasing all this time. This is a program that actually would help to enable households to address default Paul said, to be able to prevent that from happening, down to like a single household unit, which is actually very rare to actually have anything like that. This state of California also had a problem with dual tracking and all these different ways that the banks were actually controlling who got benefited with any mortgage adjustments that we're doing to prevent people from losing their homes. And that definitely affected the Black community more than other communities everywhere. So this is a measure that is really trying to build some equity in terms of what is available for a lot of households that are struggling to maintain their property and their wealth for generations. That is something that's vital to San Francisco. And this program actually, there was an audit about homelessness services. This program actually got set up, and they were actually involved in implementing this program and setting up implementation nodes across California to make this happen. And it was only because the money wasn't available that they had to stop that implementation from happening altogether. This will get it back on the right track. There's all kinds of work over 3 years that have been done to get this program running. And in San Francisco, because we have a shortage of preservation dollars in San Francisco, the Mayor's Office of Housing has been selecting to actually change its mode of looking at preservation to like bigger buildings, bigger unit buildings, and not the smaller unit buildings. If this money were to come forward, it could actually enable San Francisco to stretch its preservation programs to actually fit a lot of different building typologies that aren't currently served by the Mayor's Office of Housing to stop displacement. So I really hope you can consider that in voting in favor of this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Avalos. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none. Are there any co-sponsors for this item? Member Mahmood, Member Chandler, Director Lai, Vice Chair Kalamucci, Member Marr, Member Kim, Member Nguyen. Oh, okay, Member Dorsey too. Let's see. Can I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Members, may we take this by acclamation? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? One absent. Was that Member Ting? Okay. Member Ting abstains. Any other abstentions? Congratulations, Member Galata. This resolution passes. Okay, members. Item number 13 on our agenda is new business. Any new business? No new business. Last item is adjournment. Are there any, I would like to have us adjourn in memory of Harvey Milk. I think that perhaps I'm not the best person to make that motion. I think that Harvey Milk holds a very special and dear place in the hearts of not only San Francisco, but also San Francisco politicos. His history and his legacy has not just been inspiring to those from the LGBTQ community that seek to speak for their community, but also others from minority communities that would like to speak for theirs as well. And so for the bravery of Harvey Milk, his persistence, his voice, I would like to adjourn in his memory.
Here, here.
Thank you, members. We are adjourned.
Give me a minute. I gotta like.